day and many thanks for joining us on this episode of the program Inside Abuja. Here's another opportunity to explore happenings in the Federal Capital Territory Administration in the past 1 week, and I am your host, Joy Igoche. I'll take you on a short break where we'll see a brief history of Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. Please stay tuned and don't go nowhere.
The truckloads of the vandalized items were arrested in DAD axis of the FCT by the intelligence personnel and critical national assets and infrastructure department tactical team during routine patrol on Saturday. Parading the suspect and the stolen items, Shola Odumoshun, in charge of the NSCDC FCT command, reiterated the poise of the command to continue to protect all critical national assets, the common heritage of the people.
So far, our preliminary investigation revealed that they were coming from Guata Junction in Nasarawa State to deposit the items at the Iron Melting Company situated at Sabo Wuse Kaduna Road, Niger State.
Shola maintained that the suspect would be investigated and justice would be served, noting that the Federal Capital Territory is a no-go area for vandals, scavengers, and all the criminals in the city.
I wish to reiterate that the FCT command of NSCDC is poised towards ensuring that all critical national assets and infrastructure, which is our common heritage, is preserved. And to this end, we want to assure the federal government, because this is the seat of power, we also like to assure the FCT administration, under the able leadership of His Excellency Yesam Wike, and all residents of FCT, of our unwavering commitment, our doggedness and determination to continue to perform our duties optimally.
Notable among items recovered from the suspect are drainage covers, communication mast accessories, manhole covers, household items, among others.
On today's edition of this program, we shall be looking at the protection of critical infrastructure, particularly in Abuja. And to do justice to this very, very important topic of discourse is the FCT Commandant for the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, in the person of Mr. Shola Odumosu. Happy to have you on this program, sir.
Good day. You're welcome.
All right, sir. So quickly, earlier this week, we saw that you paraded some suspects in Abuja for vandalism, and you clearly declared a war on vandals in Abuja. So can you describe the extent to which this vandalism is prevalent in Abuja, and what type of infrastructure is mostly targeted?
All right, thank you, Joy. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps FCT commands is where we are, and our mandate is very clear. We are the lead agency in protection of critical national assets and infrastructure. And to this end, we have been in the forefront of the campaign to rid FCT of vandalism and to ensure that the critical national assets and infrastructure of the city are protected, because it is for the good of all residents of the FCT, including visitors. And of course, we also know that this is also the seat of power, where we have the presidential villa, and we also have a lot of foreign missions here. So our capital city should be able to reflect that level, of status that is befitting of a city like this. And since we have that responsibility to ensure the safety of those infrastructure, I think we have no choice than to keep arresting them, because they don't want to listen to the voice of reason. We have told them to change for the better. Those of them who were arrested over time, and those who have remained unrepentant, will continue to deal with them within the ambit of them.
Okay, I must say that must be a very, very, tedious and wholesome job. Handling people is one of the most difficult, responsibility for anybody. Not talk of people who are deliberately, jeopardizing infrastructure in the city. Okay, let's look at the economic implications, like the impacts of these infrastructure thefts in Abuja, and also how it affects the image of the city. Nigeria's capital is Abuja. And you go to a place like Central Area and you see that there's no manhole covers. You see people, I've even seen a situation where somebody had lighted from a taxi and, misstep into one of those holes. So what are the implications of all of this socially, and also the economic implications of these thefts?
Well, socially, it takes away the beauty of the city, first and foremost. Like we said, it's a federal capital territory. I told you that we must preserve the aesthetics of the city. You get it? And these are road infrastructures that not only provide service, but also contribute to the beautification of the city. And when you go around the city and see the way it has been, destroyed, and removed, it makes you want to cry, because those people who are quick to cast an aspersion on the government, they could easily say that, okay, government is not doing its best, but government is trying its best to ensure that life is easy. Those items is not for Mr. President or the minister alone. You and I and other residents of FCT, we are all road users. We gave an instance of somebody misstepping into, yes, I've had a situation like that before. In fact, this time around it was even a journalist who fell inside, and you could imagine the level of injury that person could have caused. And that is those we know. What about those we don't know? Right? That's on one hand. Having said that, on the other hand, when you look at it economically, you know that this act, if it's not curtailed, will continue to put oil in the pockets of government. Because government is trying its best to provide infrastructure, public utilities, and there are some people who are messing with the infrastructure. Now, what that means is that when these things are vandalized, when they are destroyed, now it means that they're making government take one step forward, then two steps backward. Because rather than concentrating on the extension of those facilities, those infrastructure, other places, the whole idea now is that those ones that have been provided and destroyed has to be replaced. So it's going to have enormous effect on the government's cost, because when there should be multiplicity of infrastructure to do, now we're talking about having to replace some items that have been vandalized by Nigerians like you and I. So we complain, government is not trying, but rather, okay, maybe when they're supposed to be extended to the hospital or to provide infrastructure in schools, are now meant to be used to replace manhole covers, are meant to be used to replace bridge poles and rails and the rest of them. So economically, it's not really helping. And for those on the other side of the divide, they are the one benefiting now, because there are ready buyers for these items. Like the one we arrested now, if we had not arrested them, all those items by now would have been melted.
Okay, talking about this ready buyers, while you are still on that particular point, how can government improve their enforcement of all these things? Okay, now we've arrested, or the government has arrested, some suspects involved in this crime. How can they improve this effort to stem this tide, whereby it will not just stop at, okay, investigation is ongoing, those people that are buying from these scavengers, what is being done to them? And also, is the government considering other intelligent ways like having CCTVs, that are functional at night to capture those people who engage in this? If not, it is going to be a recurring situation.
Yeah, you're right. And that is why I have been at the forefront of the campaign for the regulation of the caretaker markets. Now, of course, we know that there are some of them who are legitimate, in that business. But you see, the bulk of them have made that space very, very suspicious, and they have criminalized their business. Because when we have cases of vandalism and we have suspects arrested, in the course of investigation, most of the items being vandalized are traced to the particular markets, which of course means that they provide the enabling environment for these criminals to operate. If there are no ready markets, if there are no ready buyers, like I said earlier, we would have been able to solve 50% of this problem that is affecting, a critical national asset. So there is need for legislation. There is need for government to come up with policies and statements that will enable us to regulate this market. I cannot count how many cases and items we have traced to particular markets. So it will keep occurring if nothing is done. Now we have to criminalize certain aspects and legislate in such a way that even those in the market can be held liable or culpable for some of these offenses. But when it is being regulated, when it is being monitored, when they are properly organized, and who are in business, who are their leaders, whether they are formed into unions. I don't know how governments, is looking at it. We can provide some recommendations in this direction, such that it will assist us in helping to reduce the influx of vandalized property of government into the market. Because once they know that this thing attracts, certain penalty, and of course government have given them attention, giving searchlight in that direction, I'm sure they will, especially those who are not criminally minded among them. They will understand that it has become, an offense to allow such things come into the market. So there will be a way themselves can even police themselves internally once they know that the government attention is on them. And we will continue to ensure that this, idea is sold to government. I've been on it, and I'm not going to rest until we are sure. Because if we really want to get rid of our vandals, the FCT, this has to be done. So this whole idea is going to have written before to the Honorable Minister, His Excellency, and I'm hoping also to do a follow-up on that, so that the government can see reason, with us and assist us. Because as long as we can keep arresting them, let's need to regulate that market. And if I may also talk about one other area which, of course, has become a problem, or is a problem that we wish could be tackled, is the penalty to these vandals. There's need for us to up our game a bit. There's a need for government to also introduce stiffer penalties, for this offense. And what I mean by that is, we've had occasions where some of the suspects have been arrested over and over again. Somebody will be arrested, prosecuted, the next few weeks is back on the street. And
ready to do more.
He has even done more and we are arrested. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the reason for this is because the penalty is minimal. Sometimes these boys are charged, they are fined, ridiculous amounts of money, the region of 2,000, sometimes 5,000, sometimes 1,000, and sometimes community service. And these are things that they find easy to pay. This amount of money is something they find easy to pay. So somebody who we arrested, profiled, prosecuted, and at the end of the day is fined 2,000 naira, is back on the street to do the same thing. So that is why, aside from the regulation of particular market, there's also for our judicial system also to help us look, at reviewing some of these penalties, such that it serves as a deterrent. Because I'm afraid that I'll pay 2,000 naira to get myself off the hook. I'll do it over and over again, and that's the mentality of some of those boys, because they can afford to pay the fine. So that area too is also a challenge, and of course we will continue to plead with government to assist us to increase the penalty in such a way that to deter most of them from doing violence.
Okay, finally, before we let you go for now, the wise person once said, security begins with you. How can we involve people to be in the forefront of this advocacy, to protect these national infrastructure? Because if they are not protected, they rob us of other services, like you've highlighted during the interview. How do we get them to be in the forefront of all of this? Could it be a form of, like today, I had you say something about trust us. When you give us this information, we'll ensure that there's confidentiality, you won't be exposed and all of that. Are there other incentives that will make people want to say, okay, I saw something, or something, regularly goes on like this in my area, I should report to the relevant authorities? So how can we get these people involved in all of this?
Now, what better incentive can we ask for or introduce beyond service provision? Now, we are out here doing our job, losing sleep to ensure that we provide security. The people on their own parts, they know that security is a collective business. Except anybody who doesn't mean well, and who has refused to see the good thing government is doing. Anybody who has been to the Federal Capital Territory in recent time will agree with me that ABUJA, in terms of infrastructural growth and development, has changed. The Honorable Minister of FCT, in 1 year of his administration, has been able to change the face of FCT. And these projects are ongoing. There are times we will commission projects back to back, like 10 straight days. So he's changing the face of FCT. Now, all of these things being provided by His Excellency the Minister, yes, on BK, it's for the good of all, right? Now, as a resident of FCT or as a citizen of this country, except you don't appreciate God and appreciate good things of life, that is when you will say the government is not trying. Now, what more can you do for your country than to help and cooperate and join hands with those who have put their life on the line to do this job, like us? So, asking for cooperation is more or less like asking you, members of the public, to do it for yourself. Because now you're able to give us information. If the bridges, for instance, are not adequately protected, those iron bars, those poles that you see at the shoulder, they all have their purpose. Anybody can fall down from the bridge. So, and when disaster knocks, it doesn't want to know who is involved. It can be anybody or anybody's child or anybody's family member. Manhole cover removed. You said somebody fell into it. It could be anybody's son or daughter. Okay, so we will only be doing ourselves a lot of good if we join hands with security agencies to do things right. Give us information. We are not asking them to put their life on the line. All we need to do is give us information. In so area, we have this menace of these people. Like the recent one we got from Kubwa Axis, the menace of this scavenger, Babambola, they have been terrorizing the people. There was a particular one incident where the scavenger entered somebody's compound to steal some of their iron bars and all of that. The woman, the owner of the house, came out to challenge, and this person was stabbed in a very, horrendous way. You understand? On top of our property. So we are not going to allow this, and that is why that axis we are giving our searchlight in the various suburbs. Like we're going to move into Kubwa, we have that problem occurring in Pape, we have it in Yanya, we have it in various axes. So we are collecting our data, we are working, on our intelligence, and when the time is right, we are going to move into all those places and sanitize them. So these are the efforts we need to do to support the government. Now, if you don't give us information, how will we have what to work with? We have our own men, but of course, the size of the city compared to our number may not really give us the desired results. So the essence of all of this outreach is for us to be assisted with relevant information to work with. And of course, because people are skeptical, about their identity being revealed, they don't trust security agencies. So we have to re-echo it that we are not about your identity. It's about the information, and not just ordinary information. It must be credible in such a way that you don't just give us false alarm, you don't just set us up, and at the end of the day, by the time you're moving in, there is no such thing happening. So, and just like we on the field, in as much as we are working for government, we have our families as well. We have our wives, we have our husbands, we have our children. We want to be safe. So, because we understand that and what safety is all about, we equally know that whoever is giving you information should also be protected. And that's why we'll always say that feel free, we're close to the people. We are not quartered, we live amongst the people. And that's one of the comparative advantages that we have over other organizations, because we have access, easy access to the wine and dine with people. So we are able to interact, and it is easier for us. So confidentiality is key as far as we are concerned. In some cases, we don't even need you to come. You can send it by a message, you can send it anonymously, as long as it gets to us. We will work with it. And that's why we often say, when you see something, say something, and NSCDC will deal with it.
That's great. This has been a swell time, talking with Dr. Olushala. of the NSCDC FCT command, so much has been shared. A lot of insight, a lot of information is out there. And if you don't pick anything from everything he said, there are three things you should take note of. One is information sharing. When you see something, you say something. Another is the need for a review of the legislation to regulate this pan-taker market. And also, he talked about stiffer penalties for, these scavengers, so that somebody will not just go and steal something worth millions, and you can just get away in less than 5,000 naira and you are good to go. So this has really been insightful. This has been beautiful. Thank you very much, sir, for your time with us in this program. Really, really appreciate. This is the size of this edition of the program Inside Abuja. Do well to join us same time next week for another thrilling episode. I remain your host, Joy Igoche. Bye for now.